So I wanted to do a quick video. I recently was at a gig where I was already on like a last minute sub opportunity with someone I've previously played with, and then at the gig itself, there were some difficulties going on that led to me spontaneously sitting in with Cold, someone I'd never played with before, never heard before, and I happen to have video of it, so I wanted to kind of dive in and just watch that performance with you and talk about what's going through my head and what I'm doing to kind of as seamlessly, as smoothly as possible, get through that song without any preparation whatsoever, just as a cold drummer. So let's dive in. I'm going to start the video in just a second here, but just some general things to be thinking about. Like, I want as many of these things as I can. And in this case, we had no chance to talk about it beforehand. I had no like forewarning or any kind of instructions. I'm just going to basically follow him as best I can. I'm going to let him be the guide through this song. And I'm just going to try to, augment that, orchestrate that, and support that as best I possibly can. So I don't want to go out too far on a limb. I want to sort of lay back and play within myself to while I'm figuring out what's going on. But at the same time, I don't want to seem tentative. I don't want to seem like I'm lost or nervous or scared. Like, at its heart, I'm going to roll the dice that this is probably, in most ways, a pretty typical song. And so I'm looking for a typical kind of feel. It's probably in 4 or 6. I'm going to know that pretty much right away. It's going to either swing a little or it's going to be straight up. I'm going to know that pretty much right away. I'm going to be looking first and foremost for the feel. And then I'm going to be looking for some sense of style. And then I'm going to be expecting that we've got typical kind of sections, that maybe there's a verse, maybe we're going to a chorus. I'm going to just sort of trust my instincts and follow him where, oh, we're changing intensity and I'll bet this is the chorus. I'm going to move over to the right. Whatever I'm going to do. Feels like I have a moment to put in a little fill here. I'm going to be looking for where he breathes and where the lyric breathes to find my moments. I'm lucky in that in this particular case, it's just him and me. So I don't have, like, if he's not doing something, I've got a kind of a green light to explore my own ideas. Then the only real the trickiest thing, in fact, for sitting in cold with someone is, how's this thing going to end? Or when's it going to end? So I'm always going to be watching to see cues in his body language, in how it just kind of feels and sounds. Like, if I were just listening to this in an audience, I probably wouldn't be shocked that it suddenly ended. That's rare. There's little cues that kind of let you know we're winding down. We've just repeated the chorus. It's building to a crescendo. It's kind of, fading away to a denouement. And so I'm looking for that. I'm waiting for that to happen. And I'm kind of expecting it to be, after the third chorus, maybe something like that. So, all right, that's a lot of prep. Let's go. Let's have a listen. Okay, so away we go.
Hi, I'm Tristan Damrock. I'm figuring some stuff out.
Okay, so I'm listening to him. I'm seeing that he's grabbing the guitar. He's in ready position, looking at that strumming hand. And right away I can pick up by beat 2, I'm in. And I see that I see the strumming pattern straight, that he's not shuffling. So I'm feeling comfortable. Immediately I pick up on whether or not we're straight or shuffled here, and that it's in 4. So obviously it feels like an intro. I'm waiting for verse in my head, verse 1. As a general rule, I'm going to be kind of doing something on the hi-hat for verses, and then I'll be looking for a moment to give a fill or something to go into a chorus. Here, as this phrase seems to draw to a close, I'm going to be wondering, are we doing another one, or are we going to a new section? And it just felt like you could tell, okay, we're doing another pass through this verse. So that little fill on the splash was sensing that he's breathing, and having heard it once before, I just had an instinct. I've got a moment here, and I can orchestrate this. Feeling like we're going to the chorus, here comes a fill. Just something simple. Rule of thumb, I'm going to probably go to the ride cymbal for the chorus. Little extra energy. I'm following him, so in the sort of my time versus his time, I'm going to let his time be the guide. I don't want to make him uncomfortable and make him adjust to me. I will follow him, adjust to him. Going back. Verse. So, felt for a second like we are going to have a little guitar fill, but it's more like reprise of an intro. Here we are into a second verse. So here it's just, most important thing is just to groove and feel good. Like the best thing I can do right now is feel good. Feel some intensity. So just a little fill going in. And I may have gotten tricked a little bit. So even now, listening to this, but you just go with it. Whatever you end up doing, you just kind of lean into it. Unless it's awful, in which case you pivot out of it. So that second time around, I probably kind of mistook some intensity. He's wanting me to pick up the intensity, so I do a bigger fill. And then kind of read where the intensity really is. So by this point, I'm kind of thinking, at some point here, I'm going to need to know how we get out of this. So I'm looking. And so even though this is kind of chorusy, one of the reasons I've gone to the hats here is that it's much easier to stop on a dime from the hats than the ride. And I kind of had this sense that it felt like it was, kind of felt like we're winding up. All these sort of repeats are a cue. If I were a listener, there we go. Like you kind of hear it, like you're listening to the song. Like I said, you're not going to be shocked that the song ends, typically. You're going to hear these little moments. Oh, we're doing some extra repeats. The volume is dying down. Okay, so yeah, I mean, most of that stuff, I'm sure didn't feel like tremendously surprising information, but putting it all together, the bottom line here is that, number one, you're going to like play kind of conservatively. Like you're not going to go too far out on a limb, but at the same time, you don't want to appear scared, nervous, playing it too safe. You can kind of safely assume this is going to be a typical time signature, probably. It's going to be a typical feel. There's like only a couple choices here that we guess are going to happen. You're probably going to pick right up on where the backbeat is. So like in this song, the main thing that I want to do, I don't care about getting the downbeat with him because I'll never know exactly when he's going to start unless he counts us in. And he didn't. So if he just starts, I'm going to pick up the backbeat as quickly as I can and just join in. Looking at a guitarist, the way they strum is a giveaway. Like this is, you want to read as a drummer, you want to read how the guitarist is strumming with their strumming hand, typically their right hand. And that's going to tell you what the feel is. That's going to tell you something about the intensity. That's going to tell you something about the grid. Just get in there, find a groove, leave your ears open, find something that works and roll with it. Look for opportunities to support what's happening. Just use your judgment, use your ears. The show's not about you. You're a supporting player in this situation, so you don't need to like steal the spotlight, but definitely make some tasteful things happen. Like make this better for you being there, if at all possible. Just trust yourself, trust your instincts, and if something doesn't, if you make something that ends up being a little bit of a mistake, if possible, lean into it like it's what you meant to do. If it's a bad mistake, immediately pivot out of it. You kind of will know the difference. Like, oh, I got tricked. This isn't the chorus, but you know what? I'm going to stay over here on the ride cymbal. Versus, actually, he just did a bar of 3. I need to immediately adjust to where the new backbeat is rather than continue to play this reversed. Like, I need to get on board with whatever he did. Just a lot of stuff to think about. And then the big piece is like, you're going to start to wonder, when does this end? How does this end? And just remember, if I were sitting in the audience listening to this, I probably wouldn't be shocked at the ending. Look for the typical kind of cues. Are we sort of lingering on an idea, repeating it a couple extra times, and decrescendoing? Oh, bet you we're about to end. Is he physically slowing down? Bet we're about to end. And then just be ready to just lift the needle on your performance. You don't need to have some perfect, if you're not, it would be the icing on the cake that you're going to like correctly predict the exact ending and have a supporting fill that ends with a big crash or whatever. Lift the needle and then look to see if you're being expected to do some more. If you're being expected to do some sort of trash can or maybe a cymbal swell or something, just use your judgment again. All right. So that's Sitting in Cold. Hopefully that was helpful, interesting, educational. All right. Take it easy. Till next time.